Today, we're going to talk about a brand new security threat that has, well, a ghost in the machine. I mean that literally. We've got a vulnerability with roots buried deep in the past that has somehow found a way to haunt modern systems. So, let's get right into it. Let me just start with a question for you. Could a piece of technology, something that was designed almost 50 years ago, actually pose a real threat to you right now, today? I know it sounds pretty unlikely, right? But the answer is a big, loud yes. And it all comes down to a protocol that most of us thought was long, long gone. And that protocol is Telnet. Now, for those of you who might not know, Telnet was one of the original ways to log into a computer from far away. You can kind of think of it like an old party line on a rotary phone. Sure, it worked, but there was absolutely zero privacy. Everything you typed, passwords and all, was sent out in the open for anyone to see, which is exactly why it's been replaced by much more secure stuff and is, for all intents and purposes, obsolete. But this ghost from tech's past is precisely why we're here. There's a new vulnerability. Its official name is CVE 2026-24061, and it has dragged Telnet right back into the spotlight, and not in a good way. So what is this CVE exactly? Well, it's what we call an authentication bypass. It's a flaw in a really common set of network tools you find on a ton of Linux systems. The easiest way to think about it is this. Imagine you find the front door to a secure building just completely unlocked. That's this. There's a bug in how the service handles that first connection, and it means an attacker doesn't need a key. No username, no password, they can literally just walk right in. And you know what's really scary? How incredibly simple this attack is. It's basically a three-step process. First, an attacker just has to find a system on the internet that's still running this old Telnet service. Second, they use this specific flaw to completely skip the login screen. And third, that's it. They're in. They have direct, hands-on keyboard access to the machine. And this really gets to the heart of why this is so dangerous. As the security researchers who found this point out, these types of flaws are a huge deal because they don't just give an attacker a little piece of data, they give them the keys to the whole kingdom. Interactive access means they can run commands, steal files, poke around for other weaknesses, and, potentially take over the entire system. So this leads to the most important question, right? Who is actually still running this ancient technology? You might be surprised. Let's take a look at the kinds of systems that are most likely to be vulnerable. Look, the risk probably isn't with your brand new top-of-the-line servers. No, this danger is lurking in the dark, dusty corners of a network. We're talking about old servers that were never turned off, embedded systems like industrial controllers or even office printers that nobody ever thinks to update, and especially development machines that were set up quickly and never properly secured. And that right there, that is the main takeaway. The biggest danger comes from the machines you don't even know you have anymore. These are the forgotten hosts, the ones that were set up years ago and have never been patched or properly managed since. They are the absolute perfect target for an attack like this.
Okay, so we get the problem. It's serious. But the good news is, there are very clear, very direct ways to fix it. Let's walk through the immediate and long-term actions you can take to make sure this door is locked for good.
You really got two main options here. First, sure, you can patch the software. You can upgrade it to a newer version where the vulnerability is fixed. But honestly, there's a much better, way simpler solution. Just turn Telnet off. I mean, since the protocol is obsolete and fundamentally insecure to begin with, disabling it entirely is by far the safest and most recommended path for pretty much everyone. And beyond just that immediate fix, this whole thing should really be a wake-up call. It's a great reminder to do a full audit for Telnet anywhere on your network, to update your firewall rules to block these old protocols, and if for some crazy reason you absolutely must use it inside your network, make sure it's locked down tight and you're monitoring it for any weird activity. Which, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question that's on everyone's mind whenever a vulnerability like this drops. Are the bad guys already using it? And the answer, for now, is a very cautious not yet. As of right now, there are no confirmed public reports of this being actively exploited in the wild. But, and this is a really huge but, services like Telnet are constantly being scanned by automated bots all over the world just looking for any weakness. The fact that we haven't seen an attack today doesn't mean it won't be happening tomorrow. So let's just zoom out for a second. This one bug, this one CVE, it's definitely important to fix, but it also points to a much larger and more fundamental lesson in cybersecurity. See, this isn't really just about one flaw in one old piece of software. It's a perfect symptom of a bigger problem with your overall attack surface. You can think of your attack surface as the sum of all the doors and windows, all the possible entry points an attacker could try to get through to access your network. And that's why the real long-term solution is something called attack surface management. It's this continuous, ongoing job of finding all those potential entry points, especially the forgotten ones, and then systematically closing them off. It's all about making sure you don't have any of these old unlocked doors like Telnet just sitting there waiting for someone to come along and find them. And that really brings us to our final thought. This one vulnerability in a 50-year-old protocol, it was discovered, and thankfully it can be fixed. But it leaves us with a really critical, lingering question that I think we should all be asking ourselves. What other unlocked doors are sitting on your network right now, just waiting to be found?